Welcome to a deeply personal explainer. Today, we're diving into something that literally has the power to completely shift how you view your entire life. We're talking about the critical and honestly often overlooked difference between who you truly are at your core and what you're simply going through right now.
So, let's jump right in. Have you ever noticed how a temporary struggle so easily becomes a permanent identity? It's wild. It happens so quietly, almost automatically. We hit a setback, we go through a really difficult season or a moment of deep pain, and without even realizing it, we kind of fuse that fleeting experience with our core self. We fall right into this huge psychological trap.
Section 1. The labels we carry.
Most of us spend years carrying around these incredibly heavy, self-imposed labels that we were honestly never meant to accept. Take a temporary struggle, right? Like going through a season of financial hardship. At the end of the day, it's a circumstance. It's really just math and timing. But so easily, our minds morph it into a false identity. We start saying, I am poor. It goes from being something you are actively experiencing to something you fundamentally believe you are.
And we literally do this to ourselves all the time. People get hit with waves of anxiety and suddenly say to themselves, I am an anxious person. Or they face a few setbacks, maybe a project completely flops, and they decide definitively, I am a failure. They put off a task and conclude, I'm just lazy. These become deeply internalized, negative thoughts that we repeat to ourselves like a dark mantra.
That brings us to Section 2, the invisible walls.
There is a very real, very dangerous, hidden cost to repeating these identity statements. Many people don't realize this, but the labels you repeat actually become invisible walls. They're these unseen barriers that severely limit your future. They completely dictate what you think you deserve, what you're actually willing to try, and how you perceive the entire world around you. You're basically building a cage out of your own vocabulary.
And these invisible walls, they are incredibly destructive. Think about it. If you believe you are the problem, you completely stop looking for solutions outside of yourself. When you believe you're a failure, you just stop trying to succeed altogether. Because why bother fighting your own nature, right? When you believe you are your anxiety, you destroy the possibility of ever finding peace. When you believe you are your pain, you start living as if that pain is going to last forever.
Let's move to Section 3, who you truly are. It is absolutely crucial that we shatter the illusion of these false identities right now. We need to separate the undeniable core of who you are from the chaotic weather of your experiences. Because the truth is, you are none of those things. You are so much greater than any single season of life you're experiencing right now. You are not your bank account. Your worth as a human being is completely and totally detached from a temporary financial state.
You are not your worst day. You are not your job title. You're not that relationship that just ended. You are not the fear you might be feeling in your chest right now. You are not the passing thoughts in your mind, and you are certainly not the mistakes you made in the past. Literally none of these things define your fundamental existence.
So, what does this all mean? It means you are simply the awareness behind all of it. You are the quiet observer noticing the thoughts, feeling the feelings, and living through the experiences. And here is the most empowering realization you can possibly have. Anything that can be observed can be changed. You are the open sky. Your feelings and your circumstances, they're just the weather passing through.
If you don't believe me, let's just look at the evidence of your own constant evolution. Think about it for a second. The kid you were 10 or 20 years ago, that version of you is entirely gone. The teenager you used to be, also gone. The beliefs you held, the dreams you desperately chased, the priorities that kept you awake at night, they've all completely changed. Entire versions of yourself have already disappeared. So why on earth would you believe the person you are today or the pain you feel today is permanent? Everything moves. Everything evolves.
Section 4, redefining your flaws.
Let's take this newfound awareness and apply it directly to the things we tend to judge most harshly about ourselves. Maybe the real problem isn't an internal defect at all. We are so quick to label ourselves with these fatal internal flaws, like, I am lazy. But often, the reality is just an environmental response. I am exhausted. Maybe you aren't unmotivated. Maybe you're just surrounded by things that completely drain your energy. Maybe you aren't incapable. Maybe you're just trying to grow in a place that simply doesn't allow for growth. You aren't broken.
And this right here brings us to a monumental mindset shift, a real game changer. Life completely transforms when you stop asking, what is wrong with me? And start asking, what happened to me that made me become this way? That single, simple shift changes everything.
Because understanding creates awareness, and as we've learned, awareness is what creates true transformation.
Which leads us to Section 5. Storms never last forever.
Building an identity around your pain is honestly one of the most tragic mistakes we can make. We have to let these truths firmly separate our emotional pain from our permanent identity. Pain is an experience. Fear is an experience. Failure is an experience. Sadness is an experience. They are absolutely real, and they are entirely valid, for sure, but they are not an identity. You are infinitely greater than any temporary circumstance.
It's time to stop defining yourself by the chapter you are currently living through. Think of your life as this sweeping, epic narrative. Chapters end, circumstances change, seasons pass. The dark winter of whatever struggle you're in right now will inevitably give way to spring. You just have to hold on and remember that the current page you're reading is not the entire book.
And when this difficult season finally ends, you might just realize something that you probably needed to hear all along. You were never the problem. You were simply walking through a storm, and storms never last forever. So as we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with one final provocative question to carry with you. Think about this. If you finally put down the labels you've been carrying for so long,